It appears that Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, oh my God. No matter what he does, Wilder cannot escape criticism from boxing media, the fans, and others. We're going to talk about this concept in this video. Make sure you smash the like button. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you love what I'm doing, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. What's in it for you? I drop daily boxing content, the latest and greatest in this beautiful sport, the sweet science. I let you know what's going on, fighters camps, let you know what type of shape the fighters are in before, pre, and post-fight breakdowns and thoughts. It's a good time. Live streams, if you like that kind of thing, and boxing, some UFC, smash the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you don't miss a beat and get post notifications. Now, I had to make this video because this is just something that I've noticed, especially since Wilder took the L to Tyson Fury. It seems to me that media and fans alike, some fans and some media, are uber critical of anything, and I repeat, anything that Deontay Wilder does. And I want to give you guys an example. The Athletic, they have a reporter, and this is the caption that was placed. So Wilder posted a video, or Malik Scott, on his IG. Fox PBC reposted the video. No biggie. So just keep in mind, this is from May 26th, and it's June 2nd as of recording this video, June 1st, June 2nd. And this is pretty recent, right? The Athletics, one of their lead reporters, decided that this was a tweet that needed to go out. Right? So it was no big deal. Malik Scott announced new trainer of Deontay Wilder. Wilder won the arbitration, which, you know, set the boxing world on fire, upset a lot of old media because he won and they would try to leave Wilder for dead and was hoping that Joshua Fury could happen and whatnot. So I watched the clip, made videos about it, didn't think much of it. In fact, let me just play the clip so you guys, you know, hear. So you guys see, there wasn't much to it. It was just Wilder going through some of the sequencing with his trainer on May 26, 2021. So I made a video about it just to update people. Wilder won the arbitration at this point. He's training for his next assignment, Tyson Fury trilogy, set that straight. Now, this reporter decided to put this tweet, and I've highlighted it in yellow for you. It says, Deontay Wilder seems to hit pads with Malik Scott in the most bizarre places. A living room, a hallway, where to next? And I thought this was extremely unusual for a member of media and a boxing reporter to be so concerned with where Wilder was hitting pads. Like, when I watched this clip over and over, you know, it's not long or whatever, the first thing I thought of was not to look at the door behind me. I'm a boxing fan and I cover the sport of boxing. So I'm trying to see how that right hand's looking. Is there any head movement? The foot positioning. Malik Scott, you know, what is he instructing them to do? But for whatever reason, I thought it was pretty silly. The Athletic, they said Deontay Wilder seems to hit pads with Malik Scott in the most bizarre places. A living room, a hallway, where to next? Now, I know a lot of fighters personally. You know, I'm not going to clout chase and say a bunch of names, but I have fighters' phone numbers. I've been in fighters' cars and their houses, their gyms, etc. You know, I cover the sport of boxing, so your net worth is your net worth. So this is not weird at all. You're a fighter. This is what you do by trade. You're going to do and fight where you want and train where you want and whatever's comfortable for you. Like, so for me, I always thought it was a bizarre tweet because at the end of the day, I'm more concerned with the action and the progress. Well, like, what type of work is he doing? You know, what is Malik Scott? This is a new trainer. You know, there's just more boxing related conversations to be had. Brand new trainer, Wilder, like, what type of shape is he in? Like, you know, these are just things that I noticed as a boxing fan. I'm like, okay, Wilder using head movement. He got the body shield. Malik Scott is pretty tall. You know, what I just want to see as a boxing fan and reporter what's going on. But this reporter felt that the setting was more, you know, indicative of the clip or the focal point. And again, when I seen that, I thought that was weird. Imagine this. Yesterday, Fox PBC, they reposted Manny Pacquiao's IG. So as you know, Pacquiao, another big fight for premier boxing champs and PBC. This is another big fight for Fox, particularly. PBC got Pacquiao versus Spence, and they're talking about reinstating Pacquiao for the WBA super belt that he won in defeating Keith Thurman. So that would make that fight even more colossal. Manny Pacquiao's getting back to business. He knows he has a tall order in Spence, a 2-belt champion. So Pacquiao posted some early training work. We can take a look at that. Look at Pacquiao. Do. And you see Manny Pacquiao. Where is he at? It looks like he's in his own backyard or some type of similar setting. You know what I'm saying? Manny Pacquiao, you see chairs and stairs. It looked like a backyard or something. You know, it looks like he's under an awning, got boxing gear on, boxing gloves, and he's just randomly out there. And then there's a shot at the gym or maybe a home gym or something like that. So it's funny that Deontay Wilder, a black fighter, is constantly criticized for his every single move. Like, hey, where's he training? But then the great Pacquiao, I want to, it's up to my promoter, Al Haymon, he training almost identical to Wilder. Like, he outside training with his little kicks. I don't even think he has boxing shoes on. And he got a mitt man with the Golden State Warriors. Shout out to Bay Area versus everybody. And he's just working his sequences, right? But when it was Wilder, it was all this, it's so bizarre. And why is Wilder training out here? And I just think it's insane what you see when it comes to Wilder. Like, this look almost identical. And Wilder did it first. So he like, Ray J, I hit it first. Before Pacquiao posted that little video, Wilder posted his video. No big deal. And, you know, this athletic reporter decided that the topic, the storyline of everything he's seen in the little short snippet was the most bizarre places that Wilder was training. Now, another thing why I feel like Wilder as a black fighter is under a different microscope is because Exhibit A. Tyson Fury, who he's fighting, this is a past interview from Tyson Fury talking about his training routines. Says the Gypsies thing, right? February 2020. So right before the Wilder 2 fight, right? I distinctly remember. This is why you guys got to subscribe to the channel. I drop the latest and greatest. We do all facts. It's like a Snapple cap. We got all facts, right? And my memory is impeccable. So it's going to be real rough for old media because, I think a lot of their focus seems to be on things that don't really matter or shouldn't matter for boxing fans around the world. But anyway, February 2020, before the Wilder 2 fight, it says The Sun, the Gypsies thing. Tyson Fury's bizarre training includes masturbating 7 times a day and soaking his hands in petrol before Wilder fight. So as a reporter myself, when I hear somebody do an interview and they say their bizarre training includes they meet 7 times a day, choking the chicken and soaking their hands in gasoline, petrol, that is more of a storyline than Wilder training and he's at his home or whatever. Also, Wilder did an interview because he's only doing select appearances. He hasn't really been out much. He hasn't popped out much. But he did an interview with 7-8 and 7-8 Sports TV. Malik Scott and Wilder declared that Wilder had a facility built at his gym. So to me, that's cool to see a fighter who's obviously getting paid handsomely and well enough to the point where he could build a ring and a facility in his backyard in a gym. And like, if you look at it, Wilder also had cryotherapy. You know, he had let me see if I can pull it up. you know, the cryotherapy machines. He had a cryotherapy situation. I can't find it. Yeah. Well, anyway, he has a cryotherapy chamber that he had installed, and I was like, man, that's crazy. You know what I mean? So to me, I was just more impressed with that. But back to it, Tyson Fury, he's saying, this is what he's saying. He's saying he's dipping his hands in petrol and all this stuff. Tyson Fury has been taking part in some bizarre training methods. So an MTK fighter, right, has these weird rituals that you see on screen. I'm not going to keep saying it for the YouTube algorithm, but you see it. I just highlighted it yellow, right? He says right here, you know, and I'll just highlight it for you so you guys can read it on the screen as I'm talking, because I don't want to trigger the YouTube algorithm by saying this nasty stuff a bunch of times. But this is what Tyson Fury is saying. And once again, we never see old media make these into a big deal. And these are the claims from Tyson Fury. Really weird stuff. Wilder, the setting and location of where he's training becomes a talking point for major publications, writers, but this isn't. But beyond that, in closing, Julio Cesar Chavez, I remember this distinctly, and if you're a longtime boxing fan, you'll know exactly where I'm going. But Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., before he had a bunch of losses, you see ESPN wrote this article, Chavez trains by his own rules. Now, Dan Rafael in 2012 wrote this article, September 2012. It says, Chavez Jr. act is well known, blah, blah, blah. But then Chavez failed to show up to the gym where he was supposed to train with Freddie Roach, right? So Freddie Roach was training him at the time, biggest, most significant fight of his life. And Freddie Roach, legendary trainer, was stood up by Julio Cesar Chavez. This is what Freddie Roach had to say. It does irritate me a little bit. I do wait for world champions and I do wait for Manny Pacquiao. Sometimes I wouldn't wait for an ordinary fighter. So he thought it was unprofessional, disrespectful that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Was doing these makeshift, because this wasn't the plan. He said, I'll meet him at the gym. So these are things that have been going on in boxing. How do I remember this? If Wilder's training routine, him and Malik Scott didn't complain. Wilder didn't have plans to meet Malik Scott at the gym and then Wilder stood him up. But this is what Chavez Jr. did at the time. And this was also documented on HBO, right? It says, I told him we need to be more consistent in the gym, and that's been better, not 100%. I've gone to his house a couple times to work him out there. One thing about Julio, once we start working out, the workouts are very good and he does work. The times that are awkward are, the locations are awkward sometimes. If he wakes up at 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning and wants to work out, so we go. So again, old media doesn't talk about this. Boom. Freddie Roach, after he left Chavez Jr. and then they reunited, Freddie Roach tells Chavez Jr. one missed training session and I quit because he remembered working with him in the past. I've told Chavez Jr., when we do this again, the first day, if you miss anything, I'm going home, Roach told the LA Times. I don't know why Chavez Jr. messed with the success of listening to me. He trained in his living room and it just wasn't enough. So once again, I seen people on Twitter, and this was a talking point of where Wilder was doing one thing. Even though there's videos of him in his backyard, in a ring, I'm sure he gets sparring wherever he gets sparring. But more proof to what I've been saying, that Wilder is the person that is constantly criticized and looked over. So this is Chavez Jr. He was training for the fight of his life with Sergio Martinez, and he's waking up at 5 p.m. in pink draws, right? In pink draws, Pink Panther draws, eating cereal, and his dad is trying to game him up on how to beat Chavez Jr. And once again, we don't see people making a big deal of this. But anytime Wilder farts, burps, sneezes, or coughs is something. In addition, look at Chavez Jr. In addition to that, Chavez Jr. was waking up late. He lost the fight, and he was doing makeshift workouts in his living room. But when Wilder does anything, it seems to catch the attention of all the old media, and people make this a conversation piece. And Wilder looks like he has a crazy synergy right now, and he looks like he's just having fun. He's not worried. Shelly Finkel came out, said he was delighted with the conclusion of the arbitration. But for whatever reason, we keep hearing the detractors talk about Wilder, his legs, how skinny his legs are, where he's training. And I had to make the point in this particular video because I don't really get it. Tyson Fury, he can say all this weirdo stuff, kiss men in the mouth at the weigh-ins and at the fights. No one questions it. He could train wherever he wants. He could dip his hands in petrol, as I just showed you. But Wilder is always questioned. A black fighter is always questioned as to where he's training. Is it the proper setting? Does he have the right technique? Why did he get rid of Breland? Everything is just like, some things aren't everybody's business. He could do whatever he wants. It's his, oh my God. Let me know how I did in this video. Drop your thoughts. It's gonna be a cold summer for old media. Deontay Wilder, he's looking sharp. Those things are more important to me. He does look sharp. Use my link in the description to get TUBEBUDDY. TUBEBUDDY is an awesome browser extension. Help you level up your YouTube content in a hurry. I highly suggest it. I recommend it. I've been using it for years. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know how I did in this particular video. I just don't get all the conversation. And some of these guys act like they don't like Wilder, but they can't stop talking about him. You let me know what it is in the comment section. We working.